I'm 94 years old. I've been in this nursing home for 15 years because my children thought I did something bad. My 5 children believe I was scammed out of $250,000. They believe their father lost his mind. But I didn't lose anything. I knew exactly where every dollar went. I spent it saving someone in this family. And the person I saved is the reason I'm sitting in this room. I married my wife Margaret in 1954. I was 24. She was 21. We had nothing. A rented apartment above a hardware store in Cleveland. 1 window, radiator that only worked when it felt like it. But we were happy. We were so happy. I worked at the steel mill for 44 years. Furnace operator. Dangerous work. Hot work. The kind of work that takes a little piece of your body every year. But it paid well enough. And Margaret and I had a deal. Same deal we made the week we got married. Every paycheck, we save something, no matter how small, no matter how tight things are, something goes into savings. Every time. We raised 5 children in a house I bought in 1960. David, born 1957. Linda, 59. Robert, 61. Janet, 64. Stephen, 67. 5 kids. 1 bathroom. Chaos. Beautiful, loud, exhausting chaos. I wasn't a perfect father. I was tired most days. I came home smelling like the furnace. I didn't always have the patience I should have had. But I was there, every dinner, every Sunday, every Christmas morning. I was there. By 2004, Margaret and I had saved $310,000. 50 years of discipline. 50 years of brown bag lunches and second-hand clothes, and saying we can't afford that. So many times it became a reflex. That money was our entire life in a number. Our retirement, our dignity, our proof that we'd done something right. Then David called. It was a Tuesday night, March 2004. Margaret was already in bed. The phone rang at 11 p.m. Nothing good comes from a phone call at 11 p.m. David was crying. I'd never heard my oldest son cry. Not since he was a boy. He said, "Dad, I need your help. Danny's in trouble." Danny, my grandson, David's boy, 22 years old. Smart kid. Funny kid. The one who used to sit on my lap and ask me to tell him stories about the steel mill. The one who called me Pop instead of Grandpa because he said Grandpa sounded too old. Danny had been arrested. Drug distribution, not using, selling. He'd gotten mixed up with people he shouldn't have, owed money to people you don't owe money to, and started selling to pay them off. One thing led to another, and now he was facing 12 years in federal prison. 12 years. Danny would be 34 when he got out. His life would be over before it started. By the way, I want to thank this channel for giving me a voice. You can also encourage them by subscribing to the channel and liking the video. David was desperate. He said Danny needed a real lawyer, not a public defender, a criminal defense attorney who knew how to negotiate federal charges. He'd found one, best in the state, but the retainer alone was $80,000. The full case would cost $200,000. Maybe more. David didn't have it. He'd just been laid off from Ford. His wife Carol didn't know about Danny's arrest. David had told her Danny was staying with friends. He was trying to contain it, keep it quiet, handle it before anyone found out. He said, "Dad, I need $250,000. I know it's everything. I know what I'm asking. But it's Danny. It's your grandson. They'll destroy him in there. I sat in my kitchen and I looked at the phone and I thought about 50 years of saving, 50 years of sacrifice, every paycheck, every holiday we didn't take, everything we went without. And then I thought about Danny sitting on my lap at 6 years old saying, "Tell me another one, Pop." I said yes. Margaret knew. I told her that night. She cried. Not because of the money, because of Danny. She said, "You save that boy, Arthur. The money doesn't matter. You save our grandson." So I did. I wrote the checks. I hired the lawyer. Over the next 14 months, I spent $247,000. The lawyer was worth every penny. He got Danny's charges reduced. Instead of 12 years federal, Danny got 18 months in a state facility. Sealed record. A second chance. David made me promise. He said, "Dad, nobody can ever know about this. Not Linda, not Robert, not Janet, not Stephen, not Carol. Nobody. If this gets out, Danny's finished, even with a sealed record. If the family knows, if people talk, it follows you. Promise me, Dad." I promised. What else could I do? He was my son. Danny was my grandson. You protect your family. That's what you do. Danny served his 18 months. Got clean, got out. He's 42 now. Married. 2 kids of his own. Works as an electrician. Good man. Honest man. The kind of man you'd be proud of. Nobody knows what he was. Nobody knows what I paid to give him that chance. That's how it should be. But here's where everything fell apart. Margaret died in 2007. Brain aneurysm. She was hanging laundry on a Tuesday morning, and she just collapsed. Gone before the ambulance arrived. No warning. No goodbye. 52 years of marriage ended on a Tuesday between bedsheets and pillowcases. After the funeral, my children started looking at the finances. That's what families do when a parent dies. They assess, they plan, they look at numbers, and the numbers didn't add up. $310,000 should have been in savings. They found $58,000. Where was the rest? David knew. He was sitting right there at the kitchen table when Robert asked the question. He was sitting right there when Linda said, "Dad, where's the money?" He was sitting right there when Janet started crying, and Stephen said something must be wrong. David said nothing. He looked at me. I looked at him, and I watched my oldest son make a choice. He chose himself. He chose silence. He chose to let his father take the blame rather than admit what happened to his son. I said the money was spent on personal things. I didn't elaborate. I couldn't. I'd made a promise. And even then, even as I watched David sitting there like a coward, I thought about Danny, about his wife, about his 2 little kids, about the sealed record that would mean nothing if the family started asking questions. So I stayed quiet. My children decided I'd been scammed. That was the narrative. Dad got targeted by one of those phone scammers. Dad's getting old. Dad can't manage his own affairs anymore. It was easier to believe that than to imagine I'd spent the money deliberately. Because if I'd spent it deliberately, they'd have to ask why. And nobody wanted to go down that road. Nobody except David, because David didn't need to go down that road. He was already there. Robert suggested power of attorney. Linda agreed. Janet was worried about me living alone, especially after a small stroke I'd had in 2006 that affected my left side, and she was right about that part. I did need help. My mobility wasn't what it used to be. I couldn't manage the house alone, but the help I got wasn't what I needed. It was what was convenient. Linda said I could stay with her. I did for about 5 months, but her husband Gerald made it clear I was a burden. He'd sigh when I needed help in the bathroom. He'd make comments about privacy. He'd leave the room when I entered. One night I heard him tell Linda, "It's me or your father. I can't do this anymore." I left the next morning, told Linda I'd found somewhere better. Didn't want to be the reason her marriage fell apart. Robert was going through his own divorce. He could barely take care of himself. Janet lived in Arizona. Stephen had 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. There was no room. Not really. Not for a 79-year-old man with a bad left side and no savings. And David, the one with the big house, the one with the spare bedroom, the one who owed me $250,000 and his son's freedom. David said, "I think Dad needs professional care, somewhere with nurses, somewhere equipped." Professional care. That's what he called it. I call it what it is. He put me away. The son I saved put me in a box and closed the lid. I moved into Meadowbrook Senior Living in October 2009. Room 12. Single bed. Small closet. A window that looks out at a parking lot. I've been here for 15 years. David doesn't visit. Not once in 15 years. I think looking at me reminds him of what he did. It's easier to forget your father than to face what you owe him. Linda calls every few weeks. Short calls. "How are you, Dad?" "Fine." "Need anything?" "No." She sends a card on my birthday. She means well. She just doesn't know. Robert passed away in 2018. Heart attack. 67 years old. Another child gone before me. There's no word for a parent who outlives their children. There should be. There should be a word for that kind of pain. Janet visits once a year. She flies in from Arizona. She brings flowers and sits with me for an hour and tells me about her grandchildren. She's kind, but there's always something in her eyes. Pity, like she's visiting a man who lost his mind and doesn't know it. I didn't lose my mind. I lost my savings, my house, and my family. And I did it on purpose. I did it to save a 22-year-old boy who called me Pop. Stephen calls on Christmas, sometimes. And Danny, here's the part that gets me the most. Danny visits once a year. He brings his wife and his 2 little girls. They call me Great Pop. Danny sits with me while the girls play in the common room. He holds my hand sometimes. And every time before he leaves, he leans close and whispers, "Thank you, Pop, for everything." But Danny doesn't know. He doesn't know his father put me here. He doesn't know his aunts and uncles think I'm senile. He doesn't know that the $250,000 I spent to save his life is the reason I live in a room with a single bed and a window facing a parking lot. Danny thinks I'm here because I'm old and I need care. David told him that. David has an answer for everything, an answer for everyone except me. I have a letter in my drawer from the lawyer. It confirms the payments, Danny's case number, the dates, the amounts, everything. I could show it to Linda. I could mail it to Janet. I could clear my name in 5 minutes. But that letter has Danny's name on it. And if I show it, Danny's sealed record means nothing. His wife finds out. His employer finds out. His children grow up knowing their father was a drug dealer at 22. Everything I paid for, everything I sacrificed, it all unravels. So the letter stays in the drawer, and I stay in room 12. I've been alive for 34,310 days. I've spent 5,475 of them in this room. Every morning I wake up and I think about that phone call. David crying at 11 p.m. "Dad, I need your help." I helped. And this is where help got me. Some nights I get angry. Not at Danny. Never at Danny. He was a kid who made a mistake. He deserved a second chance. He's earned that chance 100 times over. I get angry at David, my oldest son, the one I taught to ride a bike, the one I walked to school, The one who looked me in the eye while his siblings accused me of losing my mind and said, "Nothing." He said nothing, and that nothing put me here. But even the anger fades. You can't stay angry for 15 years. The body doesn't have the energy. And the truth is, underneath the anger, there's something worse. There's love. I still love him. I still love David. And I hate that I do, because loving someone who betrayed you is the loneliest feeling in the world. I'm 94 years old. I might have a year left, maybe 2. The Parkinson's is getting worse. My left hand doesn't work anymore. My legs aren't reliable. But my mind is clear. My mind has always been clear. I wasn't scammed. I wasn't confused. I made a choice, the same choice any grandfather would make. I chose Danny, and if I had to do it again, even knowing I'd end up here, even knowing David would betray me, even knowing I'd spend 15 years alone in room 12, I'd do it again. Because Danny's alive, Danny's free, Danny's daughters call me Great Pop and bring me drawings and ask me to tell them stories. That's worth $250,000. That's worth a house. That's worth 15 years in a room with a single bed. What I can't forgive is the silence. Not the money, the silence. David's silence. The lie he let everyone believe. The father he threw away to protect himself. I didn't throw Danny away. I saved him, at the cost of everything. And I'd do it again tomorrow. Room 12. 15 years. I just wish David would come. Just once. Just to say he's sorry. Just to sit with me and admit what he did. But he won't. Because admitting means facing it. And David was never good at facing things. That's okay. I've faced enough for both of us.